The ancestral hall was a cavern of shadows and silence. Its ceilings soared high above, painted with faded murals of dragons and phoenixes locked in eternal flight. Lanterns swayed gently from iron hooks, their flames trembling against carved pillars that seemed to breathe with the weight of centuries. The air was thick with incense smoke, curling upward like ghostly fingers, as though the spirits of generations past were watching from the rafters. Outside, the winter wind howled against the wooden doors, rattling them like restless spirits demanding entry. The sound echoed through the chamber, mingling with the faint crackle of fire from the braziers. It was a night of reckoning, a night when truth would be laid bare. At the center of the hall, Liangyu knelt. His silk robes, embroidered with golden threads, were rumpled and stained from the cold stone floor. His head was bowed, but his spine remained rigid, defiance etched into every line of his body. His long hair spilled over his shoulders, strands clinging to his damp cheeks. He looked like a fallen prince, proud, broken, yet unwilling to yield. The patriarch sat upon the dais, his face carved from stone, his eyes sharp as a blade. His voice broke the silence, deep and merciless. The truth has been revealed. Liangyu, you are not of our blood. From this day forward, Shunwei is the rightful heir. The words struck like thunder. They reverberated through the hall, echoing against the pillars, sinking into Liangyu's chest like a blade. His fingers clawed at the stone, nails scraping until they ached. His chest burned with humiliation, his breath shallow and ragged. Not of their blood. Then what am I? A shadow? A mistake? A lie dressed in silk? He lifted his head slowly, his eyes burning with unshed tears. His voice trembled, but he forced it into steadiness, each word a blade of defiance. So what if I was raised under a mistake? I lived as the young master all these years. I carried the name, the duties, the pride. You cannot erase me so easily. From the shadows, a figure stepped forward. Shunwei. He moved with quiet certainty, his posture straight, his gaze sharp as steel. His robes were dark, embroidered with silver threads that shimmered faintly in the lantern light. His presence was commanding, his aura heavy with authority. He carried himself not as one who had just claimed his rightful place, but as one who had always known it was his. His eyes locked onto Liangyu's, cold yet strangely magnetic. You clung to a title that was never yours, but I will not let you fall into ruin. Even if you hate me, I will protect you. Liangyu's lips twisted into a bitter smile. His voice dripped with venom, though his heart trembled beneath the surface. Protect me or chain me? You've already stolen everything. My name, my place, my family. What more do you want? Shunwei's gaze did not waver. His voice was calm, but beneath it lay a storm. I want only what was mine, and perhaps what was never meant to be mine, but has become so. The hall fell silent again, but the tension between them crackled like fire. The elders shifted uneasily, their eyes darting between the two young men. The air was thick with unspoken words, with the weight of destiny pressing down upon them. Liangyu rose slowly to his feet, his movements deliberate, his defiance blazing. He stood tall despite the humiliation, his robes dragging against the stone floor. His voice rang out, sharp and clear. You may strip me of my title, but you cannot strip me of my existence. I am Liangyu. I am the young master who lived, who breathed, who carried this family's name. You cannot erase me with words. The patriarch's eyes narrowed, his voice cold. You are nothing but a mistake, a shadow cast by fate. Accept your place, or be cast out entirely. Liangyu's heart clenched, but he forced himself to stand firm. His gaze locked onto Shunwei's, his voice trembling with both rage and desperation. Then let me be a mistake that refuses to vanish. Let me be the shadow that haunts you. Later that night, Liangyu wandered the family's garden. The moon hung low, veiled by drifting clouds, casting silver light across the pond. The air was cool, fragrant with night-blooming jasmine. The garden was a place of memories, of laughter, of pride, of a life that had been stolen. His steps were slow, his heart heavy. Each breath felt like a burden, each thought a blade twisting deeper. Behind him, footsteps followed. He spun sharply, his robes swirling, and found Shunwei standing there. His figure was carved in moonlight, his gaze steady, his presence unyielding. Why do you keep chasing me? Haven't you won enough? Shen Wei's voice was low, steady, but his eyes burned with something unspoken. Because when I look at you, I see more than a rival. I see someone I cannot let go. Liang Yu's breath caught. Anger surged, but beneath it, warmth flickered dangerously. His voice trembled, torn between rage and longing. You're cruel. To take my place, and then to take my heart. Shen Wei stepped closer, his hand brushing against Liang Yu's cheek. The touch was gentle, yet it carried the weight of possession. Then let me be cruel. Let me claim you completely. Their lips met, fierce, desperate, a collision of resentment and longing. The garden dissolved around them, leaving only the heat of their embrace, the sound of their breaths mingling beneath the moon. Afterward, Liang Yu sat alone beneath the willow tree, his heart racing, his mind a storm. His fingers brushed his lips, still tingling from Shen Wei's kiss. What have I become? A rival? A mistake, a lover? How can I hate him, yet crave him? How can I despise him, yet need him? The night stretched on, heavy with silence. The moon watched from above, a witness to a bond born of defiance and desire. The wrong young master, once stripped of title and dignity, now stood at the edge of a new destiny. His world had crumbled, yet within the ruins, something unexpected had taken root. Love, fierce, forbidden, unbreakable. And though the family sought to erase him, though fate had cast him aside, Liang Yu's story was only beginning. The night was heavy with rain. Clouds pressed low against the sky, swallowing the moon, and the courtyards of the Shen estate lay drowned in shadow. Water drummed against the tiled roofs, spilling down the carved eaves like silver threads. The storm seemed to echo the unrest within the family walls, a chorus of thunder and whispers. Inside the council hall, lanterns burned low, their light flickering across the stern faces of the elders. They sat in a circle, robes gathered around them like coils of smoke, voices sharp and cold. The air was thick with incense, but beneath it lingered the sour scent of fear. One elder leaned forward, his voice cutting through the silence. A disgrace. The wrong young master, already stripped of title, now carries a child? This is madness. His words struck like a blade, slicing through the chamber. Another elder's voice followed, lower but no less venomous. And by Shen Wei, no less. What will the world say when they learn the heir has bound himself to a mistake? If this continues, our bloodline will be tainted, our legacy destroyed. Liang Yu stood at the edge of the hall, his body trembling, one hand pressed protectively against his abdomen. His robes clung to him, damp from the storm, his hair plastered to his face. He felt their words like knives, each syllable cutting deeper than the last. His chest tightened, his breath shallow. They see me as nothing. Not a son, not a master, not even human. Only a stain. The elders' voices rose, overlapping the storm within the hall. Remove him. Silence him. Protect the family name. Then, a new voice cut through the chaos. Calm, steady, but burning with fire. Shen Wei stepped forward, his figure tall and unyielding, his gaze sharp as steel. His robes shimmered faintly in the lantern light, silver threads catching the glow. Enough, he said, his voice carrying like thunder. This child is mine. Liang Yu is mine. If you call him a mistake, then you call me the same. I will not allow it. The hall fell into stunned silence. The elders exchanged uneasy glances, but none dared challenge the fire in Shen Wei's eyes. His presence filled the chamber, his words heavy with authority. Liang Yu's breath caught. His heart trembled, torn between fear and hope. He looked at Shen Wei, his lips parting, but no words came. The storm outside raged on, but within the hall, a different storm had been silenced. Later, in the quiet of the hidden chamber, Shen Wei led Liang Yu through a narrow corridor, away from prying eyes. The walls were damp, the air cool, but at the end lay a room prepared in secret. A lantern glowed softly, casting warm light across simple furnishings. It was not grand, but it was safe. "You will stay here," Shen Wei said, his voice low but firm. "No one will harm you. No one will touch you without my word." Liang Yu's gaze softened as he looked around. For the first time in weeks, the weight on his chest eased. He turned to Shen Wei, his voice trembling. "Why do you go so far? You've already claimed the title, the family, everything. Why protect me still?" Shen Wei stepped closer, his hand resting gently over Liang Yu's. His eyes burned with intensity, but his voice was tender. "Because none of it matters without you. The title, the power, they are empty. You are the only truth I have ever wanted." Liang Yu's eyes shimmered, his lips trembling. "Then promise me, promise that when the world turns against us, you will not let go." Shen Wei leaned in, his forehead pressing against Liang Yu's, his vow whispered like a prayer. "Even if the heavens fall, I will hold you." The storm outside began to fade, the rain softening in his silence. Within the hidden chamber, a fragile peace settled. Yet beyond its walls, whispers still lingered, shadows still plotted. The family's legacy trembled, and the wrong young master carried within him a destiny that none could ignore. The estate was restless. Servants moved like shadows through the corridors, their whispers trailing behind them. Lanterns flickered against damp stone walls, casting long silhouettes that seemed to stretch and twist with unease. The storm of scandal had not quieted. It lingered in every corner, in every hushed conversation, in every glance cast toward the hidden chamber where Liang Yu now lived. The elders gathered once more in the council hall. The air was heavy, thick with incense and tension. Their voices rose like daggers, sharp and merciless. "If the child is born," one elder declared, his tone cold as steel, "it will taint the bloodline." Shen Wei's judgment is clouded. He has allowed sentiment to poison his duty. Another elder leaned forward, his eyes gleaming with malice. "We must act before this disgrace becomes permanent. Remove the boy, and the problem ends." Their words hung in the air, heavy with threat. Outside, the wind rattled the shutters, as though the heavens themselves recoiled at their plotting. That night, Liang Yu awoke to the sound of footsteps outside the chamber. The lantern beside his bed flickered, shadows stretching across the walls like grasping hands. His heart raced, his breath caught in his throat. He pressed a trembling hand against his abdomen, feeling the fragile life within. "They've come for me, for the child." The door creaked open. Figures cloaked in darkness slipped inside, their faces hidden, blades glinting faintly in the dim light. Liang Yu stumbled back, his body trembling, fear choking his breath. His voice broke in a whisper. "No, please." Before the blade could fall, a voice thundered through the chamber. "Touch him, and you will not leave this estate alive." Shen Wei stood in the doorway, his presence commanding, his eyes burning with fury. Steel clashed as he drew his sword, the sound ringing through the chamber like a cry of defiance. He fought with the fury of a man protecting more than bloodline, protecting love, protecting destiny. The intruders faltered, their blades meeting his with sparks, their movements desperate against his unyielding strength. One by one, they fled into the night, their plot shattered, their silence broken. The chamber fell quiet once more, save for the sound of Liang Yu's ragged breathing. He collapsed against the wall, tears streaming down his face, his body trembling. Shen Wei rushed to his side, gathering him into his arms. Liang Yu clung to him, his tears staining Shen Wei's robe. "They will never accept me," Liang Yu whispered, his voice breaking. "They will never accept our child. Why do you fight for me still?" Shen Wei's arms tightened around him, his voice steady, resolute. "Because power without you is meaningless. I would rather lose the title than lose you." Liang Yu's breath hitched, his heart torn between fear and hope. His voice trembled as he whispered, "Then, if you must choose, choose me." Shenwei pressed his lips to Liang Yu's forehead, his vow unshakable. "I already have." The night stretched on, heavy with silence. Outside, the wind carried away the whispers of betrayal, but within the chamber, a new vow had been forged. The bloodline was fractured, the family divided, but love had carved its place in defiance. Winter deepened, and the estate seemed to sink into silence beneath the weight of snow. Courtyards lay blanketed in white, the stone paths buried, the carved rooftops glistening under the pale light of the moon. The air was sharp, biting against the skin, and every breath rose in a cloud that vanished into the night. Inside the hidden chamber, warmth flickered from a single lantern, its glow casting soft shadows across the walls. Liang Yu lay curled beneath thick quilts, his body fragile, his hand pressed protectively against his abdomen. The child within him had grown stronger, each flutter a reminder of both miracle and danger. His breaths came slow, his eyes half closed, yet his mind refused to rest. How long can we endure this silence? How long before the family tears us apart? The door opened quietly, and Shenwei stepped inside. Snow clung to his dark robes, melting into droplets that shimmered faintly in the lantern light. His gaze softened as it fell upon Liang Yu, but his voice carried the steel of resolve. "The elders grow restless," he said, his tone low but firm. "They whisper of exile, of stripping me of the title. They will not stop until they tear us apart." Liang Yu's lips trembled, his eyes shimmering with fear. He turned his face away, his voice breaking. "Then perhaps I should leave. If I vanish, they will have no reason to fight you." Shenwei crossed the chamber in a single stride, kneeling beside him, his hand firm against Liang Yu's. His eyes burned with intensity, his voice unshakable. "Never speak of leaving. You are not a burden, Liang Yu. You are my strength. Without you, I am nothing." Liang Yu's breath caught, his heart torn between fear and hope. He closed his eyes, leaning into Shenwei's touch, whispering, "Then promise me, promise that when the world turns against us, you will not let go." Shenwei leaned closer, his forehead pressing against Liang Yu's, his vow whispered like a prayer. "Even if the heavens fall, I will hold you." The chamber fell into silence, broken only by the crackle of the lantern flame. Outside, snow continued to fall, muffling the world in white. Yet within, a fragile peace lingered, born of defiance and devotion. But peace was fleeting. That night, Liang Yu doubled over in pain, his breath ragged, his body trembling. Panic surged through him as the warmth in his abdomen twisted into sharp agony. His cry pierced the chamber, raw and desperate. "No, not now. Please, not now." Shenwei rushed to his side, gathering him into his arms. His voice broke, raw with desperation. "Hold on. I will not let anything happen to you, to either of you." The chamber filled with chaos, servants summoned, healers rushing in, voices rising in panic. Yet through the storm of fear, Liang Yu clung to Shenwei's hand, his tears mingling with sweat. His voice trembled, weak but resolute. "Promise me. If I cannot, promise you will protect our child." Shenwei's grip tightened, his vow unshakable. "No, I will protect you both. I will not choose between you. Heaven itself cannot take you from me." The night stretched on, heavy with agony and prayer. Shadows danced across the walls, the lantern flickering as though struggling to hold back the darkness. Outside, the snow fell endlessly, silent and cold. Inside, love fought against despair, defiance against fate. As dawn broke, the storm eased. Liang Yu's breathing steadied, his body weak but alive. The child's heartbeat remained strong, defying the shadows of doubt. Shenwei sat beside him, his hand never leaving Liang Yu's, his eyes burning with relief. Liang Yu opened his eyes slowly, his voice faint but filled with fragile hope. "We survived." Shen Wei leaned closer, his lips brushing against Liang Yu's temple. His voice was soft but resolute. "We will always survive. Together." The wrong young master, once cast aside, now carried within him the weight of destiny. And Shen Wei, the true heir, had chosen love over legacy, defiance over obedience. Together, they stood against family, tradition, and fate itself. The estate was cloaked in silence, yet tension rippled through its walls like a storm waiting to break. Servants moved quickly, their eyes lowered, their steps hurried, as though the air itself carried danger. Lanterns burned low, their flames trembling against the carved beams, shadows stretching long across the corridors. Inside the hidden chamber, Liang Yu lay trembling, his body racked with pain. His breaths came ragged, his hand clutching the quilts, his other pressed desperately against his abdomen. The child was coming. His cry pierced the silence, raw and desperate, echoing against the stone walls. "Will I survive this? Will the child survive?" Snow fell outside, muffling the world in silence. The rooftops glistened under the pale light of dawn, the courtyards buried beneath white. Inside, the chamber was filled with cries, Liang Yu's voice breaking, his body fighting against agony. His hair clung to his damp face, his lips trembling as he whispered Shen Wei's name. Shen Wei knelt beside him, his hand clasping Liang Yu's tightly, his voice steady though his heart thundered with fear. "Hold on. You are not alone. I am here. I will not let go." Hours passed like eternity. Sweat drenched Liang Yu's brow, his strength waning, but his spirit refusing to break. The chamber filled with the sound of struggle, of whispered prayers, of love fighting against despair. At dawn, the cries of a newborn pierced the chamber. The child's voice was fragile yet fierce, a sound that shattered the silence of centuries. Liang Yu collapsed back against the pillows, tears streaming down his face. Shen Wei held the child, his hands trembling, his eyes burning with awe. "Our child, proof that heaven itself stands with us." He placed the child gently into Liang Yu's arms. Their gazes met, exhaustion, relief, and love intertwining in a single moment. Liang Yu's lips trembled as he whispered, "We survived." Shen Wei leaned closer, his voice soft but resolute. "We will always survive. Together." The elders stormed into the chamber, their faces twisted with outrage. Their voices rose like thunder. "This cannot be allowed. Cast them out before the family is ruined." Shen Wei rose, the child cradled in his arms, his presence commanding, his voice thunderous. "Look upon him. He is my son, my heir. If you deny him, you deny me. If you cast him out, then I will walk away from this family and build a legacy of my own." The hall fell silent. None dared challenge the fire in his words, nor the strength in his stance. The elders exchanged uneasy glances, their voices faltering, their authority crumbling. Liang Yu, weak but smiling, whispered as he held the child close, "We have defied them, and yet we are still here." Shen Wei knelt beside him, his hand brushing against Liang Yu's hair, his voice soft but resolute. "Because love is stronger than blood, stronger than tradition, stronger than fate." The child stirred, his tiny hand curling around Liang Yu's finger. In that fragile grasp lay the promise of a new future, one born not of legacy, but of defiance and love. The wrong young master, once cast aside, had given birth to destiny itself. The true heir, once denied, had chosen love over power. And together, beneath the weight of centuries, they had carved a new path, one where family was not defined by blood, but by the bonds of the heart. Spring arrived slowly, as though the world itself hesitated to breathe after the storm of winter. Snow melted into streams that wound through the courtyards, carrying away the silence of cold nights. Blossoms unfurled across the gardens, their fragrance drifting through the estate, mingling with the faint scent of incense that still lingered from the ancestral hall. Yet beneath the beauty, unease remained. The family had quieted, but silence was not acceptance. It was the silence of watchful eyes, of grudges buried but not forgotten. Liang Yu sat by the window of the hidden chamber, the child nestled against his chest. The boy's tiny breaths warmed his skin, fragile yet steady, a reminder of the miracle that had defied tradition. His gaze lingered on the blossoms outside, but his heart was heavy. Once, I was nothing but a mistake. Yet now, in his eyes, I am everything. Shen Wei entered quietly, his robes flowing like shadows, his presence filling the room. His gaze softened as it fell upon Liang Yu and the child. "The elders have quieted," he said, his voice low but firm. "They no longer dare speak against us. Our son has silenced them more than any sword could." Liang Yu looked up, his lips curving into a faint smile. "Not because they accept us, but because they fear you." Shen Wei knelt beside him, his hand brushing against a child's hair. His eyes burned with intensity, but his voice was tender. "Let them fear. I have no need for their approval. What matters is here, you and him." The words lingered in the air, heavy with promise. Yet even as Shen Wei spoke, the sound of footsteps echoed from the corridor. A servant appeared, bowing low, his voice trembling. "Master, the council requests your presence. They wish to speak of succession." The council hall blazed with firelight. Elders gathered once more. Their faces were grim, their voices sharp, but beneath their sternness lay hesitation. One elder leaned forward, his voice low. "The child exists. To deny him is to deny Shen Wei. We cannot risk division." Another elder's voice followed, reluctant but resigned. "Then let the boy be recognized. But remember, this legacy is built on defiance, not tradition." The decision was reluctant, but it was made. The child would be acknowledged, not because of acceptance, but because of inevitability. Days passed, and spring deepened. Liang Yu walked slowly through the garden, the child nestled in his arms. Blossoms swayed in the breeze, petals drifting across the pond. Shen Wei followed, his hand resting lightly on Liang Yu's shoulder. Liang Yu's voice trembled as he asked, "Do you ever regret it? Choosing me over the family, over power?" Shen Wei's gaze lingered on the blossoms, then returned to Liang Yu with unwavering certainty. "Power fades, titles crumble, but love endures. I regret nothing." Liang Yu's eyes shimmered, his voice soft but resolute. "Then let us build something new, not bound by blood, not chained by tradition. A legacy of our own." Shen Wei leaned closer, his lips brushing against Liang Yu's temple. His vow was whispered like a prayer. "Together, we will rewrite destiny." The child stirred, his tiny hand curling around Liang Yu's finger. In that fragile grasp lay the promise of a new future, one born not of legacy, but of love, resilience, and defiance. The wrong young master, once cast aside, now stood at the heart of a new legacy. The true heir, once denied, had chosen love over obedience. And together, with their child as proof, they had carved a path that defied centuries of tradition, a legacy not of blood, but of the bonds of the heart. The days of spring passed quietly, but beneath the calm, tension brewed. The blossoms in the garden swayed gently in the breeze, petals drifting across the pond like fragile promises. Yet every step Liang Yu took through the courtyards was shadowed by watchful eyes. Servants bowed low, but their whispers lingered. Elders kept their silence, but their gazes carried judgment. Liang Yu held the child close, his heart torn between pride and unease. The boy's tiny fingers curled around his own, fragile yet unyielding. He is proof of our love, proof of our defiance. But will the world see him as a miracle or a threat? Shenwei walked beside him, his presence steady, his gaze sharp. He carried himself with the authority of the air, yet his eyes softened whenever they fell upon Liang Yu and the child. "The family is quieted," he said, his voice low. "But beyond these walls, whispers have begun. Other clans have heard. They question. They wonder. They wait." Liang Yu's lips trembled, his voice faint but filled with unease. "They will not accept us. Not the family, not the child. To them, we are nothing but defiance made flesh." He looked down at the boy, his heart aching. "And yet, I cannot regret him. Not for a moment." Shenwei's hand brushed lightly against Liang Yu's shoulder, his voice carrying the weight of certainty. "Let them whisper. Let them doubt. We will not bow to them. This child is ours, and he will be raised not in shame, but in pride." That evening, the council hall blazed with firelight. Elders gathered once more, their faces grim, their voices sharp. But now, new figures stood among them, envoys from rival families, their robes heavy with embroidery, their eyes gleaming with suspicion. The air was thick with tension, the weight of centuries pressing down upon the chamber. One envoy stepped forward, his voice cold. "We have heard the rumors. A child born of the wrong young master. A legacy tainted by defiance. Is this true?" His words echoed through the hall, striking like thunder. Shenwei rose, his presence commanding, his voice steady. "It is true. Liang Yu is mine. The child is mine. If you call him a mistake, then you call me the same. But know this, he is my heir, and I will defend him against any who dare deny him." The hall fell into silence. The envoys exchanged uneasy glances, their voices faltering. Yet beneath their hesitation lay threat, the promise of conflict. Liang Yu stood at the edge of the hall, his body trembling, his heart torn between fear and pride. He clutched the child closer, his voice breaking as he whispered to himself, "We are not a mistake. We are not a shadow. We are real." The night stretched on, heavy with debate, with whispers of war, with vows of defiance. Outside, the blossoms swayed in the wind, their petals drifting across the courtyards like fragile promises. Inside, love stood against legacy, defiance against tradition, hope against fear. And as dawn broke, Liang Yu and Shenwei stood together, the child cradled between them. The world had begun to take notice, but they would not bow. Their love had rewritten destiny once before. Now, it would defy the world itself. The estate no longer felt like sanctuary. Though the courtyards bloomed with spring blossoms and the air carried the fragrance of jasmine, every shadow seemed to hold a threat. Servants moved quickly, their eyes lowered, their whispers hushed, but Liang Yu could feel the weight of suspicion pressing against him. The child in his arms stirred softly, his tiny hand curling around Liang Yu's finger, fragile yet unyielding. "He is proof of our love, proof of our defiance. But to them, he is danger incarnate." Shenwei stood beside him, his presence steady, his gaze sharp. He had faced the elders, silenced their protests, and declared the child his heir. Yet beyond the walls of the estate, the world had begun to stir. Rival clans sent envoys, their words sharp, their eyes filled with judgment. Rumors spread like wildfire, whispers of a legacy tainted, of a family divided. One evening, as lanterns flickered against the carved beams of the council hall, the envoys gathered once more. Their robes shimmered with embroidery, their voices cold and precise. "This child," one envoy declared, "is a threat to order. If you allow him to stand as heir, you defy centuries of tradition. You invite chaos." Shenwei rose, his figure tall and unyielding, his voice steady though his heart thundered with fury. "Chaos? No. He is proof that love can endure where tradition fails. He is my son, my heir. If you deny him, you deny me." The hall fell silent, but the silence was heavy with threat. The envoys exchanged glances, their eyes gleaming with calculation. They did not yield, but neither did they strike. Instead, they left with words that lingered like poison. "If you defy us, you will stand alone." That night, Liang Yu sat by the window of the hidden chamber, the child nestled against his chest. The moon hung low, veiled by drifting clouds, casting silver light across the courtyard. His heart trembled, his voice breaking as he whispered to Shen Wei, "They will come for us, not just with words, but with blades. They will not allow us to stand." Shen Wei knelt beside him, his hand firm against Liang Yu's, his voice resolute. "Then let them come. I will not bow. I will not yield. If they bring war, I will fight. If they bring exile, I will build anew. But I will not abandon you." Liang Yu's eyes shimmered, his lips trembling. "And if I fall?" Shen Wei leaned closer, his forehead pressing against Liang Yu's, his vow whispered like a prayer. "Then I will fall with you. But I will not let go." The night stretched on, heavy with silence. Outside, the blossoms swayed in the wind, petals drifting across the pond like fragile promises. Inside, love stood against fear, defiance against tradition, hope against despair. And as dawn broke, Liang Yu and Shen Wei stood together, the child cradled between them. The world had begun to take notice, but they would not bow. Their love had rewritten destiny once before. Now, it would defy the world itself. The estate no longer slept. Even in the quiet hours of night, lanterns burned in the corridors, shadows stretched long across the walls, and whispers carried through the air like restless spirits. The child's birth had silenced the elders within, but beyond the gates, the world had begun to stir. Rival clans sent envoys, their words sharp, their eyes filled with judgment. Rumors spread like wildfire, whispers of a legacy tainted, of a family divided. Liang Yu felt the weight of it with every step he took. He walked through the garden at dusk, the child nestled against his chest, his gaze lingering on the blossoms that swayed in the evening breeze. The petals drifted across the pond, fragile and fleeting, yet they reminded him of hope. "We are fragile too, but we endure." Shen Wei joined him, his presence steady, his gaze sharp. His robes caught the fading light, silver threads glimmering faintly. He reached out, his hand brushing against Liang Yu's shoulder. "The envoys have returned," he said, his voice low but firm. "They demand an answer. They will not wait much longer." Liang Yu's lips trembled, his voice faint but filled with unease. "They will not accept us. Not the family, not the child. To them, we are nothing but defiance made flesh." He looked down at the boy, his heart aching. "And yet, I cannot regret him. Not for a moment." Shen Wei's gaze softened, his voice resolute. "Let them rage. Let them threaten. I will not bow. This child is ours, and he will be raised not in shame, but in pride." That night, the council hall blazed with firelight. Elders gathered once more, their faces grim, their voices sharp. But now, new figures stood among them, envoys from rival families, their robes heavy with embroidery, their eyes gleaming with suspicion. The air was thick with tension, the weight of centuries pressing down upon the chamber. One envoy stepped forward, his voice cold. "We have heard the rumors. A child born of the wrong young master. A legacy tainted by defiance. Is this true?" His words echoed through the hall, striking like thunder. Shen Wei rose, his presence commanding, his voice steady. "It is true. Liang Yu is mine. The child is mine. If you call him a mistake, then you call me the same. But know this, he is my heir, and I will defend him against any who dare deny him." The hall fell silent. The envoys exchanged uneasy glances, their voices faltering. Yet beneath their hesitation lay threat, the promise of conflict. One envoy's lips curled into a faint smile, his words dripping with menace. "If you defy us, you will stand alone, and alone, you will fall." Liang Yu stood at the edge of the hall, his body trembling, his heart torn between fear and pride. He clutched the child closer, his voice breaking as he whispered to himself, "We are not a mistake. We are not a shadow. We are real." The night stretched on, heavy with debate, with whispers of war, with vows of defiance. Outside, the blossoms swayed in the wind, their petals drifting across the courtyards like fragile promises. Inside, love stood against legacy, defiance against tradition, hope against fear. And as dawn broke, Liang Yu and Shun Wei stood together, the child cradled between them. The world had begun to take notice, but they would not bow. Their love had rewritten destiny once before. Now, it would defy the world itself. The estate's gates had never felt so fragile. Guards stood watch through the night, their lanterns casting circles of light that barely pierced the darkness. Beyond the walls, the world stirred with unrest. Rival clans whispered of rebellion, of exile, of war. The child's existence had become more than scandal. It had become a symbol, a challenge to centuries of tradition. Liang Yu felt the weight of it pressing against his chest. He walked slowly through the inner courtyard, the child nestled against him, his gaze lingering on the blossoms that swayed in the wind. Each petal that fell seemed to carry a warning. They will come for us, not with words, but with blades. Shun Wei joined him, his presence steady, his gaze sharp. His robes flowed like shadows, his hand resting lightly on the hilt of his sword. "The envoys have returned," he said, his voice low but firm. "This time, they do not come with words. They come with soldiers." Liang Yu's breath caught, his heart trembling. Then it is war. Shun Wei's gaze softened as it fell upon Liang Yu and the child. His voice carried the weight of certainty. "If it is war, then let it be. I will not bow. I will not yield. I will defend you and him against all who dare deny us." That evening, the council hall blazed with firelight. Elders gathered once more, their faces grim, their voices sharp. But now, the sound of drums echoed beyond the walls, the rhythm of soldiers gathering. The air was thick with tension, the weight of centuries pressing down upon the chamber. One elder rose, his voice trembling. "They will not stop. They will not yield. If you defy them, you will stand alone." Shun Wei rose, his presence commanding, his voice steady though his heart thundered with fury. "Then let us stand alone. Let us build anew. If they cast us out, we will carve our own path. If they bring war, we will fight. But we will not abandon love." Liang Yu stood beside him, the child cradled in his arms, his voice breaking but resolute. "Then let us leave. Let us build a legacy not bound by blood, not chained by tradition. A legacy of our own." The hall fell silent. The elders exchanged uneasy glances, their voices faltering, their authority crumbling. Outside, the drums grew louder, the sound of soldiers gathering. Inside, love stood against fear, defiance against tradition, hope against despair. As dawn broke, Liang Yu and Shun Wei stood together at the gates of the estate, the child cradled between them. Soldiers gathered beyond, their armor gleaming, their voices rising. Yet Shun Wei's gaze did not falter, his voice carrying like thunder. "We will not bow. We will not yield. This is our legacy. This is our love. And we will defy the world itself." The gates opened, and the world awaited. The clash of steel had faded, but the echoes of conflict lingered in the air. The estate's courtyards bore the scars of battle, splintered gates, shattered lanterns, and the faint scent of smoke that clung to the night. Soldiers had withdrawn, but their threat remained like a shadow stretching across the horizon. Liang Yu stood at the threshold of the hidden chamber, the child nestled against his chest. His gaze swept across the courtyard, where silence had returned, but unease lingered. "We survived, but survival is not victory. They will come again." His heart trembled, torn between fear and defiance. Shun Wei approached, his robes heavy with dust, his sword still sheathed at his side. His presence was commanding, yet his eyes softened as they fell upon Liang Yu and the child. He reached out, his hand brushing lightly against Liang Yu's cheek. "The battle is over," he said, his voice low but resolute. "But the war has only begun." Liang Yu's lips trembled, his voice faint but filled with determination. "Then let us leave. Let us build a legacy not bound by blood, not chained by tradition. A legacy of our own." Shen Wei's gaze hardened, his jaw tightening. "If we leave, we abandon centuries of history. But if we stay, we risk everything. The choice is ours." The council hall blazed with firelight once more. Elders gathered, their faces grim, their voices sharp. They spoke of exile, of division, of survival. One elder rose, his voice trembling. "You have defied tradition. You have brought war to our gates. If you remain, the family will fall." Shen Wei rose, his presence commanding, his voice steady though his heart thundered with fury. "Then let it fall. If tradition demands sacrifice, then I will sacrifice it. I will not sacrifice love." The hall fell silent. The elders exchanged uneasy glances, their voices faltering, their authority crumbling. Liang Yu stood beside Shen Wei, the child cradled in his arms, his voice breaking but resolute. "We are not a mistake. We are not a shadow. We are real, and we will endure." That night, beneath the pale light of the moon, Liang Yu and Shen Wei stood together at the gates of the estate. The child stirred softly, his tiny hand curling around Liang Yu's finger. Shen Wei's voice carried like thunder, his vow unshakable. "We will not bow. We will not yield. This is our legacy. This is our love. And we will defy the world itself." The gates opened, and beyond them lay the unknown. The world awaited, filled with threat and promise alike. Yet as they stepped forward, hand in hand, their child cradled between them, they carried with them a bond stronger than blood, stronger than tradition, stronger than fate. The road stretched endlessly before them, winding through valleys where mist clung to the earth, and mountains rose like silent guardians. The estate lay far behind, its walls and whispers fading into memory. Ahead lay exile, uncertainty, and a vast unknown. Yet as Liang Yu walked with the child nestled against his chest, and Shen Wei at his side, he felt a strange calm. We have left behind chains. What awaits may be peril, but it is ours to claim. Villages dotted the path, their lanterns glowing faintly in the dusk. Farmers paused in their work to watch the travelers pass, whispers trailing in their wake. Some bowed in respect to Shen Wei's commanding presence. Others turned away in suspicion at the sight of Liang Yu and the child. Rumors had spread faster than the wind, of a wrong young master who bore a child, of a true heir who defied tradition. At night, they camped beneath the stars. Shen Wei built the fire, its glow casting warmth across the clearing. Liang Yu sat close, the child asleep in his arms, his gaze lingering on the flames. "Do you ever wonder," he whispered, "if we have made a mistake? Leaving everything behind?" Shen Wei's eyes softened, his voice steady. "A mistake would have been to stay, to bow to them, to let them erase us. Out here, we are free. Out here, we build anew." Liang Yu's lips trembled, his heart aching. But freedom is fragile. What if the world rejects us too? Shen Wei leaned closer, his hand firm against Liang Yu's. His vow was unshakable. "Then let the world reject us. We will not reject each other." Days turned into weeks. They crossed rivers where the water roared like thunder, climbed mountains where the wind howled against their skin, and walked through forests where shadows stretched long and silent. Each step carried them farther from the estate, yet closer to a destiny of their own making. In one village, they found shelter. The people were wary, but curious. They whispered of the child, of the defiance that had shaken the clans. Some saw danger, others saw hope. An elder approached, his voice trembling but kind. "If your child is truly born of love, then perhaps he is the future we have long awaited." Liang Yu's eyes shimmered, his heart trembling. Could it be? Could the world see him not as a mistake, but as a miracle? Shenwei bowed his head, his voice steady. He is proof that love endures where tradition fails. He is proof that destiny can be rewritten. The villagers offered food, shelter, and quiet acceptance. For the first time, Liang Yu felt the weight on his chest ease. He held the child close, his voice breaking as he whispered, "We are not alone." That night, beneath the stars, Shenwei and Liang Yu sat together, the child cradled between them. The fire crackled softly, its glow casting warmth across their faces. Shenwei's voice carried like a vow. "This is only the beginning. We have left behind chains, but we have not left behind hope. Together, we will build a legacy not of blood, but of love. And the world will learn to see us not as defiance, but as destiny." The child stirred, his tiny hand curling around Liang Yu's finger. In that fragile grasp lay the promise of a new future, one born not of tradition, but of resilience, defiance, and love. The village that had welcomed them was small, nestled between mountains where mist clung to the peaks and rivers carved their way through the valleys. Life here was simple, farmers tending their fields, children chasing each other through narrow streets, elders sitting beneath the shade of old trees. Yet even in its simplicity, the village carried whispers. Whispers of the child born of defiance, whispers of the heir who had abandoned tradition. Liang Yu walked through the marketplace, the child nestled against his chest. The villagers watched him with cautious eyes, some filled with curiosity, others with suspicion. He felt their stares like weight upon his shoulders, but he held his head high. "We are not a mistake. We are not a shadow. We are real." Shenwei walked beside him, his presence commanding, his gaze sharp. He carried himself with the authority of a leader, yet his eyes softened whenever they fell upon Liang Yu and the child. He spoke little, but his silence carried strength, a vow unspoken yet unbreakable. One evening, as lanterns flickered against the wooden beams of the village hall, the elders gathered. Their faces were lined with age, their voices heavy with caution. "Your child," one elder said, his tone low but firm, "is not ordinary. He is born of defiance, of love that defied tradition. Some will see him as hope, others will see him as threat." Liang Yu's breath caught, his heart trembling. He looked down at the boy, his voice breaking. "He is innocent. He is only a child." The elder's gaze softened, but his words carried weight. Innocence does not shield him from destiny. The clans will not forget. They will not forgive. You must be ready. That night, beneath the stars, Liang Yu sat by the fire, the child asleep in his arms. Shenwei sat beside him, his hand firm against Liang Yu's, his voice steady. "They are right. He is not ordinary. He is proof that love can endure where tradition fails. He is proof that destiny can be rewritten." Liang Yu's eyes shimmered, his voice faint but resolute. "Then let us protect him. Let us raise him not in fear, but in pride. Let him be the legacy we could not find within the estate." Shenwei leaned closer, his vow whispered like a prayer. "Together, we will build a world where he is not a mistake, but a miracle." The fire crackled softly, its glow casting warmth across their faces. The child stirred, his tiny hand curling around Liang Yu's finger. In that fragile grasp lay the promise of a new future, one born not of tradition, but of resilience, defiance, and love. The village that had offered them shelter was no longer untouched by rumor. Word of Shenwei and Liang Yu's defiance had spread beyond the mountains, carried by merchants and travelers, whispered in tea houses and council halls. Some spoke of them as symbols of hope, proof that love could defy tradition. Others spoke of them as danger, a threat to order, a spark that could ignite rebellion. Liang Yu felt the weight of those whispers with every step he took. He walked through the narrow streets, the child nestled against his chest, his gaze lingering on the faces that turned toward him. Some smiled, their eyes warm with quiet respect. Others looked away, their lips pressed tight, their suspicion unspoken but heavy. They see him not as a child, but as a symbol, and symbols are never safe. Shenwei moved beside him, his presence steady, his gaze sharp. He carried himself with the authority of a leader, yet his eyes softened whenever they fell upon Liang Yu and the child. His silence was not indifference. It was resolve, a vow unspoken yet unbreakable. One evening, as lanterns flickered against the wooden beams of the village hall, the elders gathered once more. Their faces were lined with age, their voices heavy with caution. The clans have begun to move, one elder said, his tone low but firm. They send spies into the mountains. They watch. They wait. They will not let you live in peace. Liang Yu's breath caught, his heart trembling. He looked down at the boy, his voice breaking. He is innocent. He is only a child. The elder's gaze softened, but his words carried weight. Innocence does not shield him from destiny. He is proof of defiance, proof that tradition can be broken. That is why they fear him. Shenwei rose, his presence commanding, his voice steady though his heart thundered with fury. Then let them fear. I will not bow. I will not yield. If they bring war, I will fight. If they bring exile, I will build anew. But I will not abandon him. I will not abandon Liang Yu. The hall fell silent. The elders exchanged uneasy glances, their voices faltering, their authority crumbling. Outside, the wind rattled the shutters, as though the heavens themselves recoiled at the weight of destiny. That night, beneath the stars, Liang Yu sat by the fire, the child asleep in his arms. Shenwei sat beside him, his hand firm against Liang Yu's, his voice steady. They will come, not with words, but with blades. But when they do, we will stand together. We will not bow. We will not yield. Liang Yu's eyes shimmered, his voice faint but resolute. Then let us prepare. Let us build a world where he is not a mistake, but a miracle. The fire crackled softly, its glow casting warmth across their faces. The child stirred, his tiny hand curling around Liang Yu's finger. In that fragile grasp lay the promise of a new future, one born out of tradition, but of resilience, defiance, and love. The village no longer felt safe. Shadows lingered too long at the edges of the streets. Footsteps echoed where none should, and whispers carried through the night like warnings. Liang Yu felt it with every breath. The presence of eyes watching, waiting. He held the child close, his heart trembling, his gaze sweeping across the courtyards. They are here. They are waiting for the moment we falter. Shenwei moved through the village with quiet vigilance. His hand never strayed far from the hilt of his sword, his gaze sharp, his presence commanding. He had faced soldiers at the estate, silenced elders with defiance. But here, in exile, the danger was different. It was not open war, but hidden blades, silent threats, shadows that struck without warning. One evening, as the lanterns flickered against the wooden beams of the village hall, the elders gathered once more. Their voices were heavy with fear. Spies have been seen, one elder whispered. They move through the forests, watching, waiting. They will not stop until they find weakness. Liang Yu's breath caught, his heart trembling. He looked down at the boy, his voice breaking. He is innocent. He is only a child. Why must they hunt him? The elder's gaze softened, but his words carried weight. Because he is proof. Proof that tradition can be broken. Proof that love can defy blood. That is why they fear him. Shenwei rose, his presence commanding, his voice steady though his heart thundered with fury. Then let them fear. I will not bow. I will not yield. If they bring war, I will fight. If they bring exile, I will build anew. But I will not abandon him. I will not abandon Liang Yu. That night, beneath the pale light of the moon, danger struck. Figures cloaked in darkness slipped through the village, their blades glinting faintly in the lantern light. Liang Yu awoke to the sound of footsteps outside the chamber, his heart racing, his breath caught in his throat. He clutched the child close, his voice breaking. Not again. Please, not again. The door creaked open, shadows spilling across the floor. But before the blade could fall, Shunwei was there. His sword flashed, steel clashing against steel, sparks flying through the chamber. His voice thundered, raw with fury. Touch him, and you will not leave this place alive. The battle was swift, fierce, and merciless. Shunwei fought with the strength of a man, protecting more than bloodline, protecting love, protecting destiny. The intruders faltered, their blades meeting his with desperation, their movement shattered by his unyielding resolve. One by one, they fled into the night, their silence broken, their plot undone. Liang Yu collapsed against the wall, tears streaming down his face, his body trembling. Shunwei rushed to his side, gathering him into his arms. Liang Yu clung to him, his tears staining Shunwei's robe. They will never stop, he whispered, his voice breaking. They will never accept us. Why do you fight for me still? Shunwei's arms tightened around him, his voice steady, resolute. Because power without you is meaningless. I would rather lose the world than lose you. The night stretched on, heavy with silence. Outside, the wind carried away the whispers of betrayal, but within the chamber, a new vow had been forged. The bloodline was fractured, the clans divided, but love had carved its place in defiance. The dawn was heavy with mist, the mountains veiled in silence, as though the world itself held its breath. The village stirred uneasily, whispers carrying through narrow streets, the weight of expectation pressing against every door. The rival clans had gathered beyond the valley, their banners rising like storm clouds, their voices sharp with judgment. The time for whispers had ended. The time for confrontation had come. Liang Yu stood at the threshold of the chamber, the child nestled against his chest. His gaze lingered on the mist-shrouded horizon, his heart trembling. This is the end of exile. Either we stand or we fall. His lips trembled as he whispered to the boy, "You are not a mistake. You are not a shadow. You are our truth." Shunwei approached, his robes flowing like shadows, his presence commanding. His hand rested lightly on the hilt of his sword, but his gaze softened as it fell upon Liang Yu and the child. "They will come," he said, his voice low but resolute. "They will demand surrender, but we will not bow." The council hall blazed with firelight. Elders gathered once more. Their faces were grim, their voices sharp, but beneath their sternness lay fear. One elder rose, his voice trembling. "If you defy them, you will stand alone, and alone you will fall." Shunwei rose, his presence commanding, his voice steady though his heart thundered with fury. "Then let us stand alone. Let us build anew. If they cast us out, we will carve our own path. If they bring war, we will fight, but we will not abandon love." Liang Yu stood beside him, the child cradled in his arms, his voice breaking but resolute. "We are not a mistake. We are not a shadow. We are real, and we will endure." The rival clans arrived at dawn, their soldiers filling the valley, their banners rising against the mist. Their voices thundered, demanding surrender, demanding obedience. But Shunwei stepped forward, his presence commanding, his voice carrying like thunder. "We will not bow. We will not yield. This is our legacy. This is our love. And we will defy the world itself." The valley fell silent. The clans exchanged uneasy glances, their voices faltering, their authority crumbling. For in Shunwei's stance, in Liang Yu's defiance, in the child's fragile breath, they saw something stronger than tradition. They saw love unbreakable, defiance unyielding, destiny rewritten. The mist began to lift, the sun breaking through the clouds, its light spilling across the valley. Liang Yu held the child close, his eyes shimmering with tears. Shunwei's hand brushed against his, their vow unshakable. Together, they had faced family, tradition, exile, and war. Together, they had endured. And as the sun rose, casting its light across the valley, their legacy was sealed, not in blood, not in obedience, but in love. Fierce, forbidden, unbreakable.